All right, guys, so they've walked down the aisle. We're here at the ceremony. So, again, this depends on the type of wedding you're shooting, how big the wedding is, and I'm using these two wedding examples because they are smaller and because one's a smaller venue and one's a bigger venue with a small wedding. You want to get as much coverage as you can, really, but you also don't want to be intrusive. You have to remember that it is an event and you don't want to get in other people's way. As far as that's my style. I mean, I do know photographers that do not care and will get in the way of shots. So it just kind of depends on the vibe of your couple, the vibe of the ceremony, and what you are allowed to do and what you aren't allowed to do at certain venues. This venue was very accommodating, and they would let me go pretty much wherever. I was trying to be very discreet. It, again, is very small, tiny venue, and there's a giant blue window that I was upset about most of the time. But we can kind of show you. So this is them kind of just right up before they take a step. General coverage. Here I am back at the end of the aisle, again with a longer lens, an 80 to 400. I had to bump my shutter down, and you can see my ISO is getting up to 1600. It depends on your type of camera, how high you can push your ISO. I don't like going above 1600 or 2000 if I can avoid it. So you can see I sacrificed the 125 shutter to still shoot wide open. Of course, I had to. And you'll see I'm back here at the very back, and I'm shooting a long lens just to get everything here. So we can tell this is obviously a Christian or Catholic wedding. We've got the important things in here. We have the priest and the groomsmen and maid of honor are to the sides, and we can see that they're here and they're ready to go. I had to run around to the other side. I could not get Phil's face. Unfortunately for this venue, there is a giant wall here, and I could not get around to the other side without making a ruckus. So you can see I kind of just sacrificed that. I think Phil and Isabel were very aware that I could not get around, and I know that Phil would rather have seen Isabel's face than his own. So I was able to shoot hers. You can see in this shot, when you're done shooting the couple or you got a couple of the couple, make sure to look around and see what's going on. You can see they have their own seats here on this side. You can see the guitar player is playing and they're paying attention to him. The gentlemen obviously are not paying attention to the guitar player. So you can kind of see what's going on. They're listening along, singing along, kind of just tell that story. Here they are standing up. Again, I was fighting this really bright tinted window. You can see the blue fall off on him and then on the back of her hair here. Bright tungsten lights in front. There's nothing you can really do about the way the venue looks. It always helps if you can get there beforehand a little bit early like I did and just test your exposures and see what you're looking at. Here I did more close-ups of Isabel's face. I tried to rack between the two so we got some additions. More flare, more blue light coming in here. Make sure you get coverage of the priest or whoever's conducting the ceremony. I was able to step back a lot again with my 80 to 400 and still compose a nice shot from a fair distance away. Again, I'm fighting the light here. I'm at 1600 still at a 1/20th. Stepping back, you can see I was on my 80 to 400 quite a bit because I couldn't really get in that close. Again, getting him back, I was able to kind of sneak my way into the front with my 24 to 70 and get some reactions. Kind of try to snap off when they're laughing from the smiling. Same thing here. I got a little bit closer with my 24 to 70. Again, with that blue light. You can see this camera I only pushed to a 1250. I feel like the 800 wasn't really as good as the D800, the D810. So my ISO wasn't as high. You can still see a little bit of noise in the blacks, but that'll go away with editing. Let's see, we got here again with the 24 to 70, more master coverage of both sides. Again, the venue is very small. We get a little bit of warp in this lens, so you have to watch that if you're okay with that. You can see these lines are starting to warp at the end here, a little more of a fisheye look. They tend to go up and down in a Catholic wedding. There's a lot of kneeling, standing, and sitting. You want to kind of get general coverage of what exactly is going on. Again, it depends on the ceremony, really. Here they're kneeling and they're being blessed upon by the priest. I step back and you can tell that I was bouncing from behind down the aisle to around to the right side here. Here's me running up right after that and getting on the 24 to 70 to get a really quick shot of them kind of looking down. Again, I feel like the looking down looks very philosophical and very inner and they're with themselves. Again, I caught a really quick moment of Phil kissing Isabel's head and her leaning against him. I was able to do that because I was just in the right spot at the right time, but you got to be prepared for that type of stuff. If something happens that quickly and your exposure is not set or you're not in the right place, you're not going to capture a wonderful photo like that. Here they are doing communion in the background. Phil and Isabel were kind of stuck up there in such a small area. You can tell they kind of feel awkward and they're laughing and they're having a good time. At the same time, I was able to get that very quickly and very fast. it's a good thing to just kind of keep an eye on your couple. You want to keep an eye on them because you never know what they're going to do, because they're in it together and they're looking for each other for support because they're the ones on display right now. You can see from this position, they were kind of looking at that. I noticed that he was holding her hand after they had given her rings. So I quickly jumped from, you can see I jumped from 24 millimeters to 60 millimeters up here in the left corner. And you can tell, like, this is a wonderful shot. This tells a lot about what's going on. And in a storytelling in an album, if you go from here to here, it works really well. Here again, looking around at what's going on, here's a groomsman not really paying attention to what's going on, but paying attention to me. I'm kind of bummed I got a little bit of the videographer in the background, but it's still got a nice kind of way to tell the story. Again, with my negative spacing composing, you can see that's just my style. Here, we're back on the 24-70, got more of a wider range. You can see the guests in the frame. Make sure to cover anyone that's playing music or anyone that's kind of starting out as far as a ceremony. This isn't the most beautifully composed shot, but again, you kind of also want to make sure you get coverage of what's going on. Here, Phil and Isabel had their rings in a box that you can see. I believe that's his brother holding it right there. So I wanted to see it in action after we had gotten those details. Here, this is a little bit of a strange framing. Here's the window that I hate. I've been really battling that the entire time. I finally tried to embrace it and kind of compose something that looked nice. I think in editing, I'd probably try to straighten out a little bit. It's a little rough because I am on my 24-70. This line is slanted, but they're straight. This line is straight. There's so many variables going on here, but I just felt like this was a nice composed thing. You could also, for a stylistic way, crop right here and have it be a longer shot for like more of a panoramic look. So there's a lot you can do in editing and post to make it look good. Here I just didn't get enough wide shots. I wanted to come down and just get a little bit of a different shot. I would straighten this out in editing, but it's a little bit of a lower shot without the priest. It's just our couple in front of the cross, so we're able to kind of get that feeling a little bit more. So let's jump to the other wedding. Here is the venue for the other wedding, a lot bigger, obviously. It's important to them because they met at this campus that has a chapel at Loyola Marymount. Again, this was on my backup camera. You can see it was on my Sony, or my Fuji, and we were able to get like a good venue coverage. Let's go inside. So here we've already walked down the aisle. We're here at the ceremony. We're about to start it. He, as the priest, was bouncing from in front to the other side. This venue was a little bit rougher because they did not let me walk around a lot. This is a much more organized and a much more kind of strict church. So you can see I was kind of locked in one position. I moved anyway. And just, I think a rule for weddings is ask for forgiveness, don't ask for permission, because you want to get those shots, and at the end of the day, if you don't get those shots, it's your fault. Here we go as the groomsmen. Obviously a huge wedding party. I kind of tried to do both shots, but you can see I was kind of boxed in on the left side of the church, so I didn't get all their faces. I was only able to get the guys' faces. Again, look around. Here's the groom's parents. See them looking on. Really beautiful shot of his father. He's the first one to get married in his family. He has another brother, so I thought that this was very kind of emotional and pivotal. I'm only able to get this shot because I have an 80 to 400 millimeter lens here. You can see I'm almost all the way at 400. It was very dark in this church. You can see on this camera I moved myself up to 2500. I hate doing that, but I had to do it. You can already tell there's grain here. These are unedited, so I would probably crush the blacks a little bit, try to bring their skin tone a little bit back, but we'll talk more about editing later. Here again, I'm really rocking my 80 to 400 quite a bit more because I'm stepped and I'm stuck on one side. The lighting up front was a little bit better. I'm still at 2500, so I can get a faster shutter. Probably could have come down to 2000 or 1600 and sacrificed my shutter. I do have to maintain 5.6, stay open. Here's her twin sister. Again, same shot. We can go back to this focus. That was really great. She's in focus. Everything's out. Great professional look. Great on looking. She's, they've been conjoined at the hip. They're best friends. You can tell there's a lot of emotion in here. Make sure to get details at the ceremony too. When they're standing there and they've got their bouquets out and you don't have something to shoot real quick, throw on the 400 millimeter, real quick snapshot of that. It looks great and it works great for an album. Again, depending on the ceremony, the culture, here with the Catholic wedding, there's obviously communion and the priest goes through a ceremony for that. I would just capture whatever you can as far as telling a story and as far as like seeing the day and the events of the day. Here's the father of the bride. I thought this was beautiful. He could tell that he was a very hardcore Catholic, and he was kneeling and standing up at the correct times. Here he was kneeling after communion, and you can tell. I just love this photo, and I loved it so much, and I love the pensiveness. He was thinking about his daughter, obviously growing up. But look at this. Like, you can just get in closer, and I took 2 steps to the left. You can see I'm at 175 millimeters. 2 steps to the left. Bam, 400 millimeters. Really got in there, got tight, got the emotion. He's got his wedding ring on. I just think it's a beautiful shot. And you got to be looking around for stuff like that. That works out great. I know that she loved this shot of her dad. Here, this is a little more avant-garde. I was kind of trying to look at more of the details. He had this suit custom made because that's the type of guy he is. And she had a beautiful dress on. So here, not necessarily covering their faces, but covering the details. It's always a fun shot to have. And I was kind of, running out of things to shoot. Here, they turn around. You want to capture what they're doing. They're smiling. They're looking at their guests. Again, with the details with the dress, this is probably the only time that you're really going to see the dress in full force, a dress like this. Isabel's dress wasn't as flowy, didn't have as much as a train. You can see that Courtney's dress is much more flowy and big, and brides usually tend to like those types of details. Here I am at 400 millimeters. Luckily at this church, the window panes were at least 10 feet away from them, unlike Phil's that was 2 feet away from him. They make for a really nice background, especially when they're out of focus. I think that just looks beautiful, and that really shows the types of people they are. They're very, very caring and beautiful people. Here, look around. Look at this little girl. She fell asleep during the ceremony. You can see the Bibles here, the reflection. You just kind of capture what you can. Again, I was looking around, 165 millimeter, not in their face, not right up in there, but I was able to stretch and get that photo. Here's again the priest jumping around the front, and we got the train in. We got what's going on. Donovan's expression is not the greatest, but this is another way to capture it. The big thing about shooting the ceremony and shooting what's going on is just pay attention to what's going on around you. You want to be able to see exactly what's going on and try and pick up on those little moments that really exemplify what is happening and capture the story, really.